All right. Well, one of the students last week was saying, "Oh man, I really want to hear about the options and stuff." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I promise I will go right into options today, although it's out of sequence. Historically, you won't if I go with do it all. Oh, here comes one, two, three more. Okay. Basically what I'm saying is that there is a reason for the madness. And it becomes clear as we proceed through the historical aspect of what you will see. And oh, yeah, I see that. I see that. I see that. So we're a little out of sequence from the way I put this together, but we'll go deep into, we'll best get started on the options. And so anyway, when it says the biblical historical records recorded by the historian Josephus, this book, all right, there's it's a lot comes from him, indicates that they were trading in risk markets back in the time of Christ and before. What type of risk instruments are available to us today in our markets? The one that I am using is selling options in the stock market. Before deciding to trade with them, we must establish financial benchmarks, and you'll get an idea what this
I recorded
means.
this story.
Okay, so we do have a gentleman here that hasn't been here before, and I was for the new students, I thought we'd have more. I just want to catch him up a little bit. So this quote at the top, Eleanor Roosevelt took it from Mr. Thomas Buckle, the historian, and she put in there, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. This course will intelligently discuss all three because there is a lot of detail in the people in this course. And I'm going to take you very deep into the players. And then, of course, you're going to understand what this means. You cannot cap time. As long as you are still alive, there will always be more to sell, and you'll understand what that means. One more. The stock market is an incredible business opportunity that respects no one and doesn't care if you make or lose money in it. And then I'm not going to go through this disclosure because we already did last time. Now, so I'm going to start right off the bat here with this board, and I'm going to be needing you all to answer some questions. Make sure that you all can see this. I'm going to do what's called, it's a zero profit and loss line. We're going to put that right here in the middle. What is that line right there? Well, what it is, it can be any stock price there is, any stock price. And what you're going to want to do for the simplest, and we'll get into this, the simplest way to trade options is to own 100 of some company. Therefore, if by example we say that this line 100 times 100 equals what? How much is that? So what we're dealing with is a signal line of $10,000. Okay, now you go, and does anybody have a favorite company? Anyone that they know the designators for?
APPL.
Which one?
Apple.
Okay, let's go with A, and Apple actually is in this course, APPL. And let's say that they're trading at $100 and 10,000. Okay, now you buy 100 and you've now taken $10,000 of your seed money and put it into a company called Apple. And let's say you bought it last Monday. Now let's do this. What if you say, okay, I am happy to let go of those or get called or taken from you if they will pay me $110. Okay. And let's do one more line. This is going to be 120. And down here, we're going to do 80. And down here, to make this equal, that's 10. No, 10, hold on. This should be 90 if we make this equal. So here we go. Here's 90 and then 80. Can you see what I've got here? All right. So when you do a call, you're offering to sell at a higher price than what you bought them for. Therefore, you're becoming a retailer. You take wholesale stuff from, you get clothes or bags of straw, Matthew 25, or seed, Matthew 25, okay, and you are now selling them for higher. And you're going to do that for 1 week. So, to Friday. So let's say that goes up, and by Friday, it does not make it to a strike price, your offer price, called a strike, all right, a strike of 110, and on Friday at 4 o'clock, it doesn't make it there, but there's a catch, and we'll talk about it. The buyers of options have an additional 90 minutes after 4 o'clock in Chicago to drive those prices up or down, depending on what they want, to either get yours assigned or in cash secured put, where they take your money and then give you shares. So if it does not happen, what will happen is that the amount of money or premium that you received, the premium on Monday, is yours in your bank account immediately as soon as that contract goes. And you will then be setting the price. You can adjust your price. You don't have to take, and we'll get into that, what the option chain states. Say if this price here for these was $5 per contract, and you now have sold one contract, and we call that a covered call. What is 100 times 5? It's $5 per share. How much do you get paid upfront in premium? Anyone? So what you have in your premium is $500 in your bank account immediately, but there's a catch. You're under an obligation. I'm going to make this really clear right now. The word options does not apply to you. You're the sellers. Why do I say that? A person that buys this contract from you has no obligation to do anything. They can let that contract, they're hoping that it will go higher than the 110 plus their premium of 500 just to be able to make money. All right? In 1 week. Well, if it doesn't make it there, and 90% of the time, if you do it right, it won't. Okay? You will get your $500, and next week you do it all over again. All over again. What happens though if this goes up higher? Now, I'm going to just back this off. Let's say we're not talking about contracts. Let's just say you just bought the stock by itself and did nothing. And on Friday, it's up here to $110
per share.
What is your account value increased by from 10,000 to what? At $10? There it is. $11,000. That is the account value. Here is the number one question. How much money did you make? He knows. How much money did you make? Here it is. Slide number 1. after this one. This is probably the most important concept that people need to understand, is that right there. What is the most basic truth about buying, selling stock, buying, selling options in stock market? Realized versus real unrealized gain or loss. When it comes here and on Friday, you have 100 shares and you did nothing with it, you have made $500 only, because you have to sell those 100 shares to make that profit. Do you follow me? But I don't want to sell. I love this stock. I don't want to sell my stock. Okay. Then you put it in this type of contract. Well, Dr. Davidson, what happens if on Friday it's way up here? Good question. And they said, well, if I hadn't done an option trade or anything, now it's up here at 120. How much money have you made on Friday owning the shares? Up here by themselves, no contracts. How much money have you made? Zero. You haven't sold them. That's called realized gain. Does that ring a bell? Realized versus unrealized. What you have is unrealized of, now you say, well, up here, if I had sold them, I would now have made $2,000. But I don't want to sell my shares because I think those shares could go to 1,000 per share. Oh, okay. So what do you do? Well, here it is. In this aspect of selling options, there is what is called time. Selling time with Mina weights. Mina's coming later. You'll get that. Selling time. What that means is that time is money. So you took this contract out. We did this contract for 1 week. All right. And it got up to here. So now what you'll see when you look at, and I'll show you this, what it looks like is that you're going to be in the money for the buyer. The buyer's going to love it, in the money. Hey, but you say, I don't want that buyer to take my shares. So what you can do, this is called, the difference between the strike price and whatever it is above it is called intrinsic value. Or there's time. No, excuse me, I don't want that. I got to make sure I get the terms right. Intrinsic value. And the buyer loves that. But here's the thing. Time, you have time equals extrinsic, what we call extrinsic value. Extrinsic value. Now, what does that mean? Well, you'll see that when you're looking at each week by week to month or year of the options chain, the further out you go, man, I get a higher premium if I threw this out a year. That's true. But we're going to talk about why that isn't so good. Now, if you roll that, what is called rolling, usually around 3:50 p.m. on Friday, there are some reasons if you are so far in the money, you're probably going to want to roll it earlier in the day or even on a Thursday because you're only doing one contract. And those buyers out there, they look at you, oh, you got one little contract and it's in the money. I'm going to take it. And you wake up on Friday morning and it's gone. But what is it that you have in your bank account? All the cash. Whatever that 11,000 plus your 500 on the next day. Now what? Well, now you have
11,500,
and it's now up here at
120,
how many shares can you buy with
11,500,
at a price of 120? You can't buy 100 shares. You don't have enough money now. Okay, but that's the trick of the trade is your extrinsic value. You can throw or roll that out as far as you want. If you don't care about it, you're locking it up time-wise. So if you go, you got a couple of things you can do. You could leave it at the strike price of
110,
you could leave it there and just throw it out a week and you'll get paid pretty good. Why? Because that now is carrying value. You're in the money to those buyers. And when they see your contract and you put it up there for another week, oh my goodness, that's good for us. Boom, they'll do it. Or you want to do 2 weeks, depends on how far out you are. The other thing you can do is say, well, I think this stock might continue to go up. Might. That's a big question mark. So as you roll this out, you can also go up in price. You can set on when you roll it. You can adjust so that instead of selling it at
110,
okay, I'm going to go ahead and sell it at 120, but you're going to have to pay the piper, the intrinsic value. Buy to close in the roll, buy to close, and then sell to open. And one of that slides that I had on our first day, it was all gibberish up there, blah, 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 buy, okay. I'd have to go back on it. But what that means is that you're not putting money out of your pocket. You're letting time buy that intrinsic value. And that is huge. That time value is amazing because you can, okay, I'm going to now roll it. Now your 100 shares that were at $100 is now at 120. And then there is a time factor to make that happen. If you did it at a 120 and did not have enough time, you will have what's called a debit. Why? Because there's that intrinsic value against you. But if you get enough time, you can overcome that intrinsic value and then more as you go out if you need to. 30 days maybe. If you go, okay, you want to lock it 30 days. All right. Now, what happens on this same thing? And now, instead of being at $100 on 1 week, it's now down to 90. How much money have you made and how much money have you lost? You have 100 shares on that contract. How much money have you made or lost? It's the same thing. You made 500, but since you haven't sold it, there is no realized loss. And on Friday, because the strike price is below the market price is below your strike price
of 110,
contract goes, and on Monday morning, you'll see in your notification expired. Did you follow that? So I know this can be confusing because we're dealing with the stock market and it can be confusing. So every covered call that you put out there and the stock market goes down, over on the left column, I've got one of those videos for this. If you see green on the left, red on the left on the covered calls because the stock's going down, you will see green on the right. And I'll explain that more. Your contract will lose value for others to buy it. As the stock market is dropping, the contract price goes down with it because it's going away, 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 away from your strike price. And it ain't going to hit it on Friday. And it expires. But your value owning that 100 shares, I now have an unrealized loss of $1,000. but I offset that with 500. Okay, there's some benefit there. And you go, well, Apple's going to go up, it's going to go down, up and down. Yeah. So if I let it expire and now I have those 100 shares for next week to reevaluate again, what's good. Again, the same thing. If this is a down, all right, now we're way down here. Your unrealized loss is you still have 100 shares, but your account value has dropped. You follow me? The account value, but you don't want to sell those shares. You bought them the only reason you bought them is because you want those shares. You have to have a thesis for why you want those shares.